Bookcase and Coffee presents Buzzing About Romance, a quick shot of romance.
Welcome to the Buzzing About Romance Quick Shot of Romance. For this episode, we are continuing our October theme of the anti-hero. And tonight, I am joined by Carolina, who you can find on Instagram as Curl Up with Books. And we are reviewing Repeat Offender, which is book one of the Souls Chapel Revenants MC series by Lani Lynn Vale. Welcome back to the podcast, Carolina.
Thanks, Leah. Glad to be back.
Okay, do you want to read the synopsis from Goodreads?
Yes. Lynnwood Thatcher Windsor has lived a lot of lives, seen a lot of good men go down, but he will not stand by and watches the world he's built from the ground up burns to ashes before his eyes, even if he has to build an army to combat the problem he sees brewing around him. One step at a time, he carefully lays out his plan, building layer after careful layer until everything is where he wants it to be. Every part is impeccably played. His pawns are the perfect place. And then she barrels into his life, totally scattering every single piece he's set in motion. The bad thing is, she doesn't even realize how badly she's messed up until she's roused the beast. The day that 6 Inez Broussard met Lynnwood Thatcher Windsor was the worst day of her life. First, she has a public breakup with a man she's not even dating. Second, she has to deal with the black tie event that she'd rather gouge her eyes out than go to. Third, she then has to sit at a table for hours on end with the one man she despises. Just wanting a break, she thinks she'll lose herself for a few hours and do what she loves to do best, spend time by herself and go for a walk in the middle of nowhere, spot some birds and get a little sunshine. Only her day doesn't go as nearly as planned. She walks right into the middle of hell, and at the center of it, Lynnwood Thatcher, the mayor, the man she took one glance at on the night of his inauguration and dismissed as boring, a total stick in the mud. Only he's not so boring shirtless in the middle of nowhere doing things that are very illegal. At first she's appalled, then her interest gets piqued. Stuck-up suit is hot, and he has tattoos. Oh, and let's not forget one hell of a mouth on him. Then he goes and kidnaps her, and she realizes that nobody is quite as hot as you thought they were when they were holding you hostage.
Okay, so this book was released January 12th of 2021, so it's not that old. And the tropes are age gap, virgin heroine, anti-hero, MC. It's a spin-off and the series starter for this new series. And the put-out percentage for this book is 52%, and it is damn hot. So hot.
I was not ready for it.
No, you don't expect it, but it's
no.
Ooh, it is a good icebreaker there. Okay, so let's talk about 6 a little bit. So 6 is quite a character. She marches to her own beat. Like, she does her thing. She's very independent, but she's really confident in her self-worth, which I thought was really nice.
And that, to keep her independence, there's a level of rebellion because of the things that the responsibilities she's forced to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but at the same time, like, she rebels against her dad in the sense, like, she doesn't do what he wants, but she's very together. Like, she has things going, like, she has a well-established business that, like, she owns the business and she has created this business. And so, like, she rebels against his straight-lacedness and the fact that, like, he doesn't really like her for the most part, like, as a person or as a kid. But she has it together, and, like, she's a smart cookie.
Oh yeah, it was entertaining to watch how she pushed back to her father and rebelled. I mean, what the event, the banquet event where she pulls out a bag of Lay's chips and just like, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're amazing right there.
Well, and that's something too, like, so her dad is the mayor of Dallas, and so he's like he's a big to-do, and he forces her to go to these different banquets, and she hates going to them, doesn't want to go to them, but she gives in like at least 4 times a year. So the first time her and Lynn meet is at his inauguration, but she has no idea like who he is. Like she just knows this mayoral inauguration, and she's getting dumped by this guy who's calling her Linda. She's like, "Hey, Linda," like that little like
Linda,
that little kid. But she's getting dumped by this guy who's saying she's Linda, and like Lynn's watching this like happen, and then she sees him and meets him like on the periphery, and they kind of have this like instant connection, but nothing happens because of who he is, and she really wants nothing.
And she kind of writes him off because
Mhm.
of where she's meeting him. She sees him in the suit. He looks very put together and like in her dad's world, which she wants nothing to do with.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but there is definitely a connection.
Mm-hmm. And then they meet it again while she is on this hike. So she goes hiking to get some footage for her videos that she takes and produces and puts out into the world. And he is doing some not so savory things, which that's just kind of his way.
It's kind of his way. He is very much can we talk about Lynn a little bit now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead.
So he is the mayor of
Kilgore.
Mm-hmm. And he worked to get the previous mayor out.
Mm-hmm.
But you come to find out that he has a plan.
He does.
And it's to fight dirty with dirty.
Mm-hmm.
But at the core, he's a good guy.
He really is.
He's an intense guy. He's super intense.
Well, and if you like this is your first time reading Lani Lynn Vale on my recommendation.
Yes.
But if you have read the previous series, like she has like a couple series that take place in Kilgore itself. And so you meet Lynn as the mayor, because the timelines are always kind of skewed in her series, and you just kind of have to go with it, and it works for her.
And she puts a note, I think, at the beginning of the book that his story wasn't necessarily going to happen. Mm-mm. And I think it was because of the request of readers that
because he's such an enigma in the books that he has showed up before,
and she addresses that timeline is going to be a little skewed.
It's very skewed because he's like friends with the grandfather of like this Silas Mackenzie, who is like 3 or 4 series like back. And so like all of her series are kind of interconnected, but her timelines are all like crazy at the same time, but like you kind of love it.
As reading this the first time, I don't know any different. Mm-hmm. But she does put that warning in, so it's good to know that if I went back and read that it would be a little off.
So throughout the series, like the different series that he shows up in, he's known as different names and different people, but at his core, like he is a good guy. Like he doesn't always do things morally or legally correct, but the outcome and the goal is always to better an area or get rid of like the bad guys. Like he's not a bad guy.
I would say in the anti-hero world,
mm-hmm.
he actually kind of does them. The intentions are morally correct.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's take, for example, he pulls together his club, his crew, like his hand-picked
his ragtag team,
if you will. And he finds people with certain skill sets mm-hmm. that are in prison, but yes, they did bad things, but they were for morally positive or mm-hmm. for good reasons.
Right.
Like there is a morally justifiable reason because of people mm-hmm. abusing or attacking people that are less like.
Yes, every single one of like the ragtag team, which is what I like to refer to it as, that he is bringing in, like they are all in jail, but there's all like every single one of them, like there is a valid reason for their reaction to what put them in jail. And I don't want to spoil anything for the next books, but so you'll have to read it to find out, like, because if you have read like her SWAT 2.0, like her second generation SWAT, like you meet Zach and you experience when he gets like does what he does to go to jail. But not reading that series, like you don't lose that like coming into this.
No, I honestly was very intrigued by the stories of all of these characters, and even the two people, Bruno and
Laric,
that are kind of on his team prior to getting these other people. Like, I was almost more intrigued by the side character stories.
Well, and that's the thing. But I will tell you, Laric is the second to last book in the series, and Bruno is the last book in the series. And she does it purposefully because, like, you really want Bruno's book.
Yeah.
You really want it. Because, like, you learn little tidbits about each of them in this book, because this is the first book in the series. So there's a lot of world building and, like, MC creation in this book. But she ties you in, and you really need to get those last books.
Yeah, this book was definitely a world building book, and I felt that a lot more. There were elements of Six and Lynn's relationship that I wish got more time to be a little bit deeper. So in that respect, I was a little disappointed because I wanted a little bit more with them, but also understanding that she's creating this whole world at the same time. So, you have to trade some of it off.
Well, let's talk about Six's dad a little bit. Like, he's a piece of work. Like, he is a big part of the story and a big part of the whole aspect of why Lynn became mayor of Kilgore in the first place. And he's a crappy human being.
A crappy dad, a crappy mayor, a crappy, and you don't get to get his motivations and insight until nearly almost the end of the book.
But it's still,
and I still have like mixed reviews about it.
Well, it's still not a good reason. Like, none of it is a good reason that he was such a shitty person, especially to her. Like she's a kid, and he makes decisions, and they're just bad. It's like, why would you do that to your child? And just the way he treats her too. Like, she even said,
he tries to justify it himself in his own mind.
Well, and she even says at one point how, like, he had to have been on his meds because he wasn't as mean to her, or no, he was meaner to her because she was there than if she would have skipped something. It's like, there's this whole like reasoning, but you have to give credit to Six because she's not troubled. Like, she understands that, like, her dad has issues and her dad is not a good person, but she does not use that as an excuse for anything. Like, it's an excuse for the fact that, like, she wears colored contacts because it pisses him off, and she like gets off on that in a way. But like, her dad being a crappy person and like not present in any of the correct ways, like, that has actually helped her be a better person because of it.
Right. Do we, and I'm asking because you've read the whole series and I haven't, the friend that is helping with the burger joint,
Crockett?
Yes. Does she get part of one of the stories? Okay.
She gets a book.
Okay.
Wyeth, her best friend, gets a book, and then Crockett gets a book.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Oh yeah, Wyeth too.
Which her book is very interesting.
And those characters, all characters are so different, and they each have their own quirks.
They do. And I will say, like, this author, like, she has a knack for quirky characters, but they're never to a point where it's unbelievable.
No.
It always makes sense. Like, she has characters that have hangups because of things that have happened, and she has damaged heroines and she has damaged heroes, and she runs the gamut. But there's always, like, in a series, there's always one or two that have like some really quirky things about them, and like 6 has a lot of like little quirks, but they're not unnatural quirks. And I think that's one of the things that I really like about her writing, is like she doesn't write that typical hero heroine usually.
Okay. I'm excited.
You just needed to know that.
I just needed to know that.
Okay. So I just want to take a little bit of time to mention, I'm not going to give it away, but that conference call scene. Oh, buddy. I think that honestly is one of my favorite scenes.
Each of their steamy scenes were super steamy. There is no like light and like fluffy in this.
No, there's no light and fluffy.
It's yeah.
It's intense. It's always
there's even
intense.
One, because then there was what was the last one?
Was that the shower?
I think that was the shower one, because even that one was,
yeah, like they're having a moment, but it's still like, I mean, he's a dirty boy.
Yes, he's very commanding.
But not in a bad way.
No, and she's there for it.
Oh yeah. Well, and that was something too, like she's a virgin, but the way that it's done, like it goes down. Like there's no like, I'm taking things soft and easy. Like it happens, and there's no turning back, which I kind of like, because it wasn't a big deal. Like
she also addresses that 6 is 100% there for it. So it's not, there's no question
second
about
guessing.
There's no question about consent. Like she's there for every moment.
Yeah, she does not like what he's doing at any moment that he is doing something.
She tries to encourage it on a few occasions.
Yes, seriously. Okay, so did you like this book?
I think it was good. But it, like I said before, it was just a lot of world building. So there were times where I couldn't stay in with 6 and Lynn, which I wanted more of. So I think if I would have known that beforehand, I think I would have been better prepared.
Okay. Well, I will know for next time. I did. But I really like anything by Lani Lynn Vale. Like I discovered her, I think it was last summer, and I have went down her deep rabbit hole, because she puts a lot of books out every year. She does at least one a month. Sometimes she has 2. And so like it's a good rabbit hole to be in. So who would typically like this book?
Fans of anti-heroes, because this is 100% an anti-hero series. And like you also have to want a series, because this is not, I mean, yes, it could be read as a standalone, but you're not fulfilled because you've developed an itch for these other characters.
Yeah, definitely like fans of interconnected series, because like I said, there are a lot of different characters that pop up. Like Zach is a transfer over from the SWAT 2.0 generation. So there's a lot of intermixing with her series, which I really like. And you don't have to read the previous series to read this one.
I haven't. This is my first book that I've read of hers, based on Leah's recommendation, and I was fine. Like I didn't feel like I was missing out and confused about other characters that she mentioned from different series or different areas, because I really didn't know them. Because there's some authors who throw so many characters at you, you kind of get confused and overwhelmed, and I did not feel that at all.
And if you're a fan of not the ideal hero or heroine, then this is a really good author for you. So would you recommend this book?
Yes. As a series starter, yes. I would say get ready to commit to how many books are in the series?
I think it's 7.
Okay.
Don't quote me on the number because I can't think off the top of my
I
head,
mean,
but I'm pretty
you're
sure it's
committing
7.
to a long series, but yes, I think if you are, I would recommend it for that. And super intrigued to read the rest of the series.
It's good. It's real good. I recommended it to Carolina because I just like I love these books. I love these series. They're quick reads. Like she doesn't write a really long book, which they're quick and easy, which is really nice. And it is 7 books in this series because I just looked it up because now I was curious.
And I would also say for a motorcycle club, because it is classified as a motorcycle club because that's their front.
Right,
if
because
you will.
They're creating this motorcycle club. So it's non-existent until this book starts.
Right. So like just this book alone, I've read other motorcycle clubs that can be very dark, very dark. And this is, yes, there's dark tones because of the bad work that they do, but it's not.
It's like grayish.
It's not like
it's dark
it's gray.
light.
It's dark light. It's not like serious trigger warning dark. Like,
no.
I want to put that out there too, because if people want to experience motorcycle club but not black dark, then
like a light dark. But that is something like if you continue the series, like some of the members are like, oh, I'm in a motorcycle club, I have to remember to wear my vest, and like they call it a vest because they don't like realize it's called a cut, and like there's a lot of humorous elements in these books too, which I like. It's like the dark mixed with the funny, so like you get that nice balance.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Carolina, for joining me on this quick shot of romance.
Thanks for having me, Leah.
Happy reading, everybody.
Find us on Instagram at buzzingaboutromance or on Twitter at buzzingromance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.